Hello, welcome to episode 3 of the FedTrends show. All right, let's get started with some GovCon news. So CIOSP4 put out their preliminary award announcement. Now, what I think that means is you can pretty well expect that the companies that are on that list are going to end up with an award. The other thing that you can expect is there's going to be a lot more protest activity. There have already been some things filed. I've talked to some folks that already have said that they're in groups that are putting together large team protests. So I think task order flow is still probably quite a ways down the road, but the question is, what can you do now with that list? If you notice, there's a whole lot of JVs, joint ventures, on that list. If you're not familiar with the term, it's easy enough to Google, but basically what it means is a couple of companies got together, maybe more than two, and created their own entity, some new name that is a new company that shares the past performance and the qualifications of both companies that allowed them to bid. So an 8A company might have teamed up with a large business, they get the qualifications of both, and they were able to bid in the 8A category. The names are hardly ever very helpful. So they say all kinds of random business words, and you don't know who the teams are. So when you get ready to team eventually, what you're going to find is a list is really necessary. So something you could do now is to start working down that list of figuring out who's in the JVs. Google the name of the JV. They generally will have a website. They'll mention who the partners are. That's a good thing to do. And I don't typically see readily available lists of who's in what JV. So that's something you can get started on now. Now, another topic that I actually got some questions about this week, and I'll go ahead and put an email address up so that if you have any questions, you're welcome to send them in. I'd love to talk about things that folks want to hear about. The question was, how do I get into government contracting? If I'm trying to help a friend get into government contracting, what's the best way to do that? So I've helped several people with their resumes and with that process, so I started thinking about what process do I follow, and I've noticed that I've kind of fallen into some common steps that help somebody look for a GovCon job. The first section of things to do are the resume. Right off the top, most people have a career summary block on their resume. Put in there that the person is interested in a GovCon job. A lot of times when you're in GovCon as a hiring manager or recruiter and you're looking at a resume, if that person's never worked in GovCon before, you can wonder if they actually are gonna like working on a government contract. Do they understand what this means? When they say something simply in there, very interested in getting into the government contracting field because I'm interested in government service, government and industry collaboration, something like that, that can be very, very helpful. The next thing is, don't make people look for certs. If they are PMP certified, if they have a technical certification, right after the person's name, comma, whatever the certifications are. What you're trying to do is to get the recruiter to line them up with GovCon contract requirements. Very typically, certifications are a knockout, that if they don't have them, they're not even going to look at the rest of the resume. Sometimes they're in there, they're just buried. Recruiters don't spend that much time on resumes. The final thing that I would recommend is a skills block where you're talking about enterprise level skills. It's very common to see a resume of somebody that's not worked in GovCon say things like helped users document processes or updated user accounts. In GovCon, in a contract, that's going to be called system administration. That's going to be called enterprise documentation or system documentation. Make it easier. Make the terms match. Those kinds of enterprise level terms are what recruiters are typically going to see in requirements because they're coming directly from an enterprise level government contract. So that kind of a block with 10, 12, 14 terms that are summarizing what they're going to see in the jobs. You're not trying to get a job just off of that. You're trying to get the recruiter or hiring manager to just go a little bit deeper into the job experience on the resume. All right, so that's the resume piece. Where do you look? So everybody goes out, Indeed, LinkedIn, two of the most popular sites for people to look at jobs. Here's what the thing to know about that is. Usually, only the most difficult jobs that GovCons are recruiting for get posted there because All of those sites, all the job sites, charge by the number of jobs that you can post. So if I have 75 jobs to post, but 5 of them I think I'm going to have a hard time filling, those are the ones that I'm going to use my LinkedIn slot for to post that job. There's probably a bunch of other jobs. So here's the way to use that. The advice that I give is use Indeed, use LinkedIn, find GovCon companies. The job posting will either mention that it requires citizenship, that it's supporting a federal customer. It might mention the name of the customer. Look through there and find the actual company that was posting it. Go to their job, go to their website. They all have a job site. There's always a careers link on pretty much every GovCon company that I've ever seen, because people in the services business is 85% of what your back office is working on every day. So make a list of the companies that are doing the work that you're interested in. Go back to those companies. You're going to find that these contracts are larger contracts. There's not just 3 or 4 people on most government contracts. It's very typical that you're going to find that they're hiring 30 or 40 people. Monitor those websites. You know those companies do the kind of work that you're interested in or that your friend is interested in. They're going to have more jobs posted. So that's going to be a much more fruitful way to look for gigs in GovCon. Look for an article on LinkedIn about this topic coming up. I'll go into a little bit more depth. Also, if you have questions, please send them in. I'm always happy to address topics. Reach out. I'll put an email address up. You can reach out. You can also reach out through LinkedIn. Thank you so much for watching episode 3. See you on the next episode.